If you don't like tofu, trust me, you haven't had it like this. Today I'm making a mouth-watering Haryali tofu that's high in protein, packed with bold flavours and a healthier twist on a classic Indian dish. Hi, I'm Tila. I have over 18 years of experience as a doctor and I specialise in lifestyle medicine. I'm here to prove that you can eat yourself deliciously to good health while still enjoying all your favourite dishes. Now let's talk about Haryali. The word Haryali means green in Hindi, and this dish originates from North India where it's traditionally made with a vibrant, herbaceous sauce of fresh mint, coriander and warming spices. It's often used as a marinade or curry base, making dishes incredibly fragrant and flavourful. I normally do these videos with my mum, but she's not here right now. She's off enjoying herself in India. So today you've just got me, but don't worry, she'll be back soon.
Hi, Tila. I'm in Ahmedabad, India, and having a dinner. It's this is a dal bati. This is bati, and there's a dal in there. This is a rotlo. Hi, it's a whole meal. There's a rajwari khichdi, means all the mixed vegetables and rice and all the grains. There's a tomato curry as well. Look, what I'm having is it's fresh coconut, and I already drank the coconut juice, and then they cut it, and then you eat this one. I just had a Java plum shot. It's a jammun. They make that's a fruit, purple fruit, and they make the puree of that. And we had millet pani puri, we had millet dosa. The whole thing everywhere is just millet stuff and organic stuff. And I'm really enjoying. So see you when I come there. Bye.
As you can see from these videos, my mum is trying all the plant-based food in India, having the time of her life because I'm not there to tell her off. But don't worry, when she gets back to the UK, she'll get a telling off from me to be healthy again. But she can't have all the fun, can she? Haryali paneer is a restaurant favourite, but I often feel left out being vegan because I want a version that's as creamy and delicious without all the saturated fat. That's why I created this Haryali tofu. It's protein-packed, full of vibrant flavours and has a little twist with apple to balance the herbs beautifully. So let's get cooking, and trust me, this recipe is going to change the way you think about tofu. I'm going to bring my blender jug. We're going to make the Haryali sauce first, which creates the base, but I use this as a chutney in other meals as well. So let's start putting the herbs in. So I've got 1 cup of coriander leaves and stalks, but if you prefer, you can just add the coriander leaves, but I don't like to waste food, and I do think that the stalks are fragrant as well. Then we're going to add some mint. I've got half a cup of mint leaves here, not the stalks, and I've tightly packed them into a cup measurement. I've got the metric measurements on the recipe as well. So we'll put that in. And this chutney will last a couple of days in your fridge, so if you wanted to prep this ahead, you can. And then I've got some soaked dates here, as well as cashews that I've just soaked in boiling water for about 10 minutes so that they soften and are easy to blend. I don't need all of this, I've just got it here in case, but I've got about 2 dates here, and we're going to add 1 tablespoon of cashews. This is to make it creamy, but you can add more if you like, just add more water if you do. I want to have one of these on their own. If my mum was here, she'd be like helping herself and hiding, like a little child. We're going to add 1 tablespoon of cashews. So there we go. Then we're going to add half a teaspoon of cumin powder. I'm not advertising Schwartz, but if you want to sponsor me, that would be great. So that's half a teaspoon there. Then I've got some other ingredients. I've got 1 whole apple here, which I'm going to keep the skin because you're not going to notice it, but I'm going to core it, and I'm going to add some green chilies here as well. I've got about 3, but obviously add it to taste or omit it if you like. And then I've got 1 clove of garlic here. There's going to be garlic and ginger inside the actual dish, but this is like a standalone chutney, so you can enjoy it as a chutney as well. So I've got my knife here, and anyone that's scared of chopping up apple like this, please use a chopping board. Obviously, I don't want to be responsible for anyone's hands being cut off. Health and safety first. but my mum's taught me to cut it like this. Well, not like this. She'll tell me off and go, look, you left so much apple. I told you, you always take the favorite knife. My mum's got this one knife from John Lewis and she guards it with her life, basically. They've stopped making it now, so like even more important to make sure you don't lose that knife. I think she won't tell me off. I haven't left that much of a core, you see? So let's put that in here. You just want to chop it roughly so that it will blend. And then we've got our garlic clove in there. I'm just going to top off the chilies and just cut them up a little bit. You can take the seeds out if you don't want it to be too hot. How much can you cram into a blender? Let's see. Sometimes I end up blending up half of it just in case. Making a mess here, my mum will tell me off. And then we've got some lime or lemon juice. So I've got about 3 tablespoons worth here. We might need to add a bit later. Oops, dropped a bit. 2 and about 3. Add a little bit more. There you go. My mum always adds lemon juice to her drinks and then she adds salt and pepper. And she goes, oh, this is nice, like jaljeera. And we're all like looking at all the drinks on the menus and going, Mum will like this. So she'll change even a cocktail or mocktail to be like that kind of drink. Anyway, then we're going to add salt to taste. And then we're going to add about 8 to 10 tablespoons of water just to let it blend. You might want to add a little bit at a time just to make sure you're not adding too much and making it too watery, but I know the measurements for this. And we'll just put the lid on. Got it first time. All right, let's blend it on the other side. So that's done now. As you can see, it's all blended really nicely and it's supposed to be slightly chunky, so not completely smooth. And as I say, you can use it as a chutney if you like in other dishes, but we're going to use this as a base for our Haryali sauce for the tofu. Let's put that on the side there and let's get going with our tofu. So let's talk about tofu. So I've got some extra firm tofu here and I'm using 2 blocks in the recipe. Extra firm tofu is high in protein. It does have less water than the other types of tofu, but I still like to press it. So what I do is I freeze it and then I thaw it in the microwave and then put it in a fancy press like this and leave it for half an hour. Now you don't have to use a fancy press like this. You can actually just put the tofu on a plate and put some heavy books on top and a cloth obviously to protect it. But I've got this and this really comes in handy. So let's talk about paneer versus tofu. A lot of people think paneer is a healthy choice because it's high in protein, but what they don't realize that it's also high in saturated fat. Saturated fat is a type of fat linked to heart disease. Even if you opt for the so-called high protein paneer, it still has more saturated fat compared to tofu. If we break it down, per 100 grams, regular paneer has around 28 grams of fat, with about 17 grams being saturated fat. Even the protein paneer has around 5.1 grams of saturated fat, whereas tofu has only 0.5 grams of saturated fat. That's a huge difference, especially when it comes to heart health. On top of that, about 70% of the world's population is dairy intolerant without even realizing it. Many people experience bloating, digestive discomfort, and skin issues from dairy, as well as nasal congestion, but they don't make the connection. Tofu, on the other hand, is packed with protein, has some amazing health benefits. It helps reduce menopausal hot flushes, lowers the risk of breast and prostate cancer, and it's all round a heart-healthy food. There are so many myths about soy. People say it causes thyroid issue, man boobs, or even cancer, but none of this is true. In fact, being overweight and consuming too much dairy can actually contribute to insulin resistance, which is linked to gynecomastia, the real cause of man boobs. So let me show you. Tofu is like a blank canvas. It absorbs whatever flavors you give it. The secret to making it more meaty is to freeze it and thaw it like I said I did. This changes the texture, making it firmer and better at soaking up the marinades. You also need to press it properly to remove excess water and marinate it to get the best flavor. So as you can see, the tofu here, the pores are so closely packed together, and before you freeze it, they're a bit further apart. So this makes the texture a lot different, but use it how you like. If you like it soft, then just use it straight out the packet with pressing it a little, but I prefer it this way. So I'm going to grab a bowl. I've got 2 blocks of extra firm tofu here. The amount is listed there. I'm really terrible at maths. Good job I'm a doctor and not a mathematician. Okay, so I'm going to put that in there, and that's been pressed like I say. And then I've got the spices that I'm going to marinate it with. So I've got 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast here, and nutritional yeast is also high in protein. And because we're not using paneer, this gives it a cheesy taste. It has a natural cheesy taste to it. We've got 1 teaspoon of turmeric, and then we've got 2 teaspoons of garam masala. I like to use pav bhaji masala, but use whatever garam masala you like. Obviously, it may have some black salt in it, so just be careful with adding salt, and then salt to taste. So I'm going to pour that in. And then I've got about 1.5 tablespoons of corn flour here. So I'm going to pour that in as well. Then we're going to just use a spoon to mix it. Now the tofu still has a tiny bit of moisture so that it sticks to the ingredients. If you wanted to stick more, you can actually add some extra virgin olive oil or some soya sauce, but I really don't mind if it all doesn't stick because I'm going to just add this all to the sauce later anyway. So there we go, and we let it marinate for at least 10 minutes, but the longer you leave it, the more it will take on these flavours. And then once you're done, you just put it on a parchment lined baking sheet. So I've got one here. And then you literally just pour it in there. Let's put it in. And then we just spread it out evenly. Even though we haven't used oil, this will actually stick really well. So then I put this in the oven at 190 Celsius for 18 to 20 minutes in total, turning halfway. Obviously, all ovens can vary, so do check on it to make sure that it doesn't burn, but it should get nice and crispy on the outside and soft in the inside. But in true mum style, here's one I made earlier. So as you can see, it's nice and crispy, and then it's soft in the inside, just like fried paneer would be, but we haven't used any oil in this. But like I said, if you want to use extra virgin olive oil spray to get the spices to stick a bit more, that's absolutely fine. It depends on your health goals. So now we can get going with the sauce. Gosh, that's hot. Okay, so I've got a hot pan here, and we're going to add our onions in. So I've got 2 large red onions. You can use any onions you like that I've peeled and I've blended. This just makes it easier to cook and makes the sauce a bit more uniform, but you can chop it finely if you like. My mum would love this smell. Pity she's not here. And we're just going to cook that until it becomes a bit brown. If it starts sticking, then you can add splashes of water or you can add some vegetable stock. So as you can see, the onions have reduced down, they've darkened as well. And at this point, I want to add the garlic and ginger. So to make my life easier to make this midweek, I usually use some frozen garlic and ginger cubes. These have defrosted a little bit, but they can defrost right in the pan. If you're using fresh, then use 1 thumb-sized piece of ginger that's peeled and grated, as well as about 7 to 8 cloves of garlic that's crushed. We're going to start off with 7 cubes because we've already got some garlic in the chutney, although you can't get enough garlic, okay? I'm sorry to anyone that's Jane, you can add asafoetida or hing instead. Five, 6, and then 7. And we'll just cook that off. You can add salt to the pan to make the onions cook a bit faster, but I don't like to add salt at the beginning because then you're not in control of how much you're actually eating at the end. So I've ensured all the garlic and ginger frozen cubes are defrosted in here. They've had 1 to 2 minutes to become fragrant. And at this point, I'm going to add my coriander and mint chutney. So if we spoon it into here, that smells so nice and fragrant. And some people put ice cubes in here to keep it really vivaciously green, but I'm just cooking for my family and we're keeping it real here, okay? And then we're going to add a splash of water to this blender jug because we can't let this lovely chutney go to waste, can we? Right, so we pour the rest in here. And then we'll just let this go fragrant. So we let this go fragrant for a few minutes, just 1 to 2 minutes. Just like you're adding like a Thai curry paste, you normally add the paste first, don't you, after the onions, and then you add the rest of your ingredients. The onions are the longest part. After you've done that, it's pretty easy. This smells so good. I wish we had smell-o-vision. My mum will be jealous, even though she's traipsing around India going to millet farms. Okay, then we're going to add the spices. So we've got half a teaspoon of cumin powder here. We had a half a teaspoon in the actual chutney. And then we've got 1 teaspoon of coriander powder as well. And give that a stir. You want to layer the spices so each one comes through at different bits. And obviously there are certain spices that you don't want to add in first, such as garam masala, because it makes the dish then become quite bitter. So you always do want to add that in at the end. No such thing as curry powder in Indian cooking. Okay, so I've given this a few minutes. Let's add back in the tofu. And we're going to add some veg stock. So I've got about 2.5 cups here. We'll see how much we need just to submerge it, and we can always add more water in later. I'm going to give that a stir and see. I think that's enough actually. You could add in some chopped up kale, or you can add in some spinach if you like as well, but it does take away from the herbaceous smell and taste of this sauce. And what people don't realise is that greens don't just have to be kale and spinach. You can add lots of herbs. You don't have to add a tiny little smidgen at the end to go, oh, look, this looks pretty. You can add a bunch of herbs such as mint and coriander, like I have done in this recipe. It's still high in iron, for example, and calcium. So we'll just let that simmer. And then we're going to add 1 red bell pepper, which has been cut into small 1 centimetre or 1.5 centimetre chunks. You can chop it up finely if you want it to cook a bit quicker. You don't have to add this in if you want, but I like to add more vegetables where I can. So we add that in. And peppers don't actually take that long. So hopefully this will be done in no time. I sometimes like to roast the peppers as well in the oven alongside the tofu, and that can be another way to add like a smoky flavour. I'm also just going to add a little bit of black pepper. The reason being is we put some turmeric in the actual tofu cubes. You may have watched my earlier videos where I've said whenever you add turmeric, the active ingredient called curcumin is increased by adding black pepper to it, and that has an anti-cancer, anti-inflammatory action. Let's put that in. So we'll leave that to cook. So I actually added only about 1.5 cups of veg stock, but you can actually add more stock or water as you go. So this is the perfect consistency for us. And these peppers have been cooking for about 5 to 8 minutes. So they are al dente still, but we want the other ingredients to meld in as well. So we've got 2 teaspoons of garam masala. I like to use pav bhaji masala, but use whichever blend of garam masala you like. And then some salt to season as well. There is salt in the tofu as well, so just be careful. Just add that in. Now I'm going to taste it before adding any more lemon juice just in case. So the lemon juice also brings out the iron in the greens as well. So that's a fun fact. It increases its absorption by about 6 times. So you really want to add a vitamin C source like a squeeze of lime or lemon to your food, especially curry. Okay, this is the next bit. I've got some yogurt here, some soya yogurt that's unsweetened. You can use a high protein plant-based yogurt as well. That will boost the protein content. But as you can see, the yogurt's here, and sometimes if you add soya yogurt, things can curdle inside the pan. So this is a quick, nifty way of stopping, well, trying to prevent that from happening. It will still taste delicious anyway, even if it does curdle. If you take out some of the sauce and then you add yogurt to it, so it's just got used to a little bit. I don't know the science behind this, I just do it. And then just mix it. So I've got about 100 grams of soya yogurt. Add more or less according to your taste. And then we just add that slowly into the pan. And we just give it a good mix. You just need a couple of minutes for the yogurt to take in the sauce, and then you can adjust the seasoning as you like. I've added 3 green chilies to the chutney. So I think that's just about how much my kids can take. And there's some red chili powder inside the garam masala as well. But you can add more green chili if you like. You can add Kashmiri chili powder, for example. The world's your oyster. You can change it according to your taste. I'll give that 2 more minutes. So while that's cooking for its final time, I'm going to get a chopping board out and cut up some coriander. This is where you're going to scrutinize my knife skills. It gets the job done. So that's done, and I'm going to plate it up now. So I've got my special bowl here, which reminds you of the Mughal period, or Mughal period. My mum will say, you're not saying it properly. Right, so let's dish this out. Those red peppers just pop, and if you wanted to use yellow peppers, that will stick out even more and make it more vibrant. Can't wait to try this. So if you get all the components ready ahead of time, you can literally just make this so quickly, and people will feel like they're having a restaurant style meal. Like I said, my mum doesn't have to have all the fun, right? All right, let's sprinkle some coriander. We'll move this out the way. And as you can see, I've plated this up beautifully, just like magic, without my mum to help me. And there you have it, Haryali Tofu, a high protein flavour packed dish with 25 grams of protein per serving. And when you pair it with whole grain bread, chapati or whole grain rice, the protein content goes up even more. The full printable recipe is on my website and it's linked in the description below. If you give this a try, I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment, tag me or DM me on Instagram. All my social links are linked in the description below. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon, can't remember what side it's on, so you don't miss my next video, because we're making a high protein Bombay sandwich that you do not want to miss. And remember, till next time, keep eating those plants.